family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. Thank you so much, family. Now, how many of you all remember that I, Vicki Dillard, yours truly here, met face to face, not face to Facebook, but face to face in person. I was a part of a handpicked group of a small group of individuals here in the state of Colorado to meet directly with then presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy. How many of you all know he's now currently the HHS director here in the United States after a very contentious hearing that took place before he was approved to move forward in the Trump administration? How many of you all know that he had been a lifelong Democrat? Then he had to run independently, and then he ended up endorsing Donald Trump, and now he's in his administration. Yes? One of the things I want you to understand is when I'm talking about my spiritual courses, I want you to understand that my spiritual team, my invisible helpers, is the one that assisted me in confronting him face to face. And I made a very powerful statement to him about reparations because he's against reparations, as well as some other international issues for which he has some very troubling positions. Well, after initially calling for the release of his uncle, JFK, as he's known by shorthand, the release of files related to his deletion, yes, something very interesting happened. Now, Trump, I believe it was January or so, was when he signed the order to have those documents released. Well, a lot of folks are complaining, especially the experts that keep up with the documents in the couple of plus thousand pages that was released, the last batch that were released. They're basically calling it a nothing burger. If you see this report here from Al Jazeera, you'll see here where it basically says that the Trump administration on Tuesday, this was March 20th, released more than 2,000 files related to the assassination of former United States President John F. Kennedy, a case that has fueled conspiracy theories for more than 60 years. While there was limited evidence to suggest that the initial explanation surrounding JFK's deletion, I'm using that word deletion, was inaccurate or misleading, the release documents shed light on how the U.S. gathered intelligence during the Cold War. They also detail intelligence reports about the perpetrator of him. Yes, and I'm using a different word there. Well, I found something very interesting. I'm not sure how many of you all may or may not be familiar with Oliver Stone. If you know who Oliver Stone is, you know that he is considered to basically be, in some circles, they consider him to be a legendary filmmaker. Yes. Well, he has been following this for many, 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 many years. And he recently testified in a JFK hearing. Watch this clip.
You know, I was here 33 years ago. I was sat in one of these rooms in Washington, and I told the congressmen and women about this movie I just made, JFK. And half of them were wondering what all the fuss was about. It was just a movie. And the other half were passionate in responding to the cries of their constituents that demanded no more national security reasons preventing this from getting to clarity on our president's assassination. The Warren Commission of 1964, as it turned out, got us to second base with a lot of unknowns. And what was that? Obfuscations. And it all got crazier and crazier, sides taken on this and on that. And what happened that awful day? It wasn't clear as to who the heck did this. Killed the president at high noon in Dealey Plaza in Dallas on November 22. And then year by grudging year, we learned in increments a little, but not much more. Often one step forward and two steps back. Well, the Assassination Records Review Board really tried for a few years, till 1998, to get those records out. But they didn't get any cooperation, although mandated by law, from the Central Intelligence Agency, which operated and still operates as a taxpayer-funded intelligence agency that arrogantly considers itself outside our laws. They say things like, "We will get back to you on that," and they never do. Or they give me a day and I'll come up with a reason why this matter is a national security matter, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing of importance has been revealed by the CIA in all these years, although we know from other records that there's a illegal criminal activities in every facet of our foreign policy in practically every country on earth. Mr. D. Eugenio and I saw a film of a potential Oswald watching the motorcade go by, which means that he was downstairs at the time of the shooting, and that would be very interesting to see. We couldn't say for sure that that was Oswald, but it's a man who looks like him. So I think it would be a very good idea for the task force to subpoena NBC, which has the original film.
Yes, they supposedly have the original, yeah.
They have the original film. They've refused it twice to be shown.
Yes.
And if this task force could easily get that, and the American public should have a right to judge for itself who was standing there.
Very few people know there were 3 attempts on JFK's life in November.
Okay, did you hear him call out the United States, one of our top intelligence agencies, as well as, wait for it, NBC? He says they're refusing at NBC to release footage that they have, and some of this could be easily done. He also intimates during his hearing, family, that Oswald, which your government for the longest told us was the sole perpetrator, he says that his film, the release of his film, or this particular film, could prove that he's actually innocent. Now, what I find interesting is, according to reports that I read, it said that they found that he made trips, Oswald, to Cuba and Soviet Union. How many of you all know that Russia is connected to the former Soviet Union? So the same place that the United States don't like and has a bunch of ridiculous sanctions against are the same players that they claiming this man had some travel connections and so forth too. There's a lot of moving parts, but among other things, I'm using this because there are a lot of different people and individuals that one could get behind to say, hey, I want us to get behind Oliver Stone's film where he could give us information that the public doesn't necessarily have. And I want you all to know why this is important. It's important to know this, and the reason why I believe that not only are certain broadcasting companies hiding information, but your intelligence agencies, your government is hiding information, even though this has been many years ago, right? It's important that we have these conversations because what's in there now that now from years ago that still might be relevant. Who are they covering up? How many of you all know that a part of the information that's in there is not just U.S. intelligence agencies, but it is also said to involve some of our foreign democratic nations that are supposed to be partners of ours that are said to be involved in this. This is the kind of stuff that, baby, I talk about in my private webinars. I don't want you to miss that. Because I had a unique conversation directly with Robert F. Kennedy. Yes, there's something I haven't really emphasized enough to the public that took place. You don't want to miss that. I'm going to be revealing that and so much more in my webinar coming up. I have 2 different ones that's coming up, both April 19th and May 5th. You don't want to miss it. Yes, May 4th. You don't want to miss it. Go to my website for details at VickiPlanet.com. That's VICKIPlanet.com. And before you do that, the biggest thing of this is, how does Robert Kennedy get excited that Trump signed something from months ago, and then everybody's now saying, word on the street is that he's mighty silent about the documents that were released. Now, if you know, Robert F. Kennedy just made a total 360, and he's disappointed a lot of his supporters because of a certain position that he took. I know some of you all say, Vicki, tell us. I'm going to talk about this and so much more freely in my private webinar. Go to my website at VickiPlanet.com. Why is Robert F. Kennedy, according to many, being so silent,